Welcome to the last afternoon of MediaTech Cup conference. Thank you for being here. We were just joking that we have the after Schnitzel show now. We hope to awake you with an issue which sounds, in a way, at the beginning boring, metadata. But in fact, the people I have on stage now are all but not boring, and what we're talking about is not boring. We are talking about the business behind metadata. There is a business, and this session is presented by the dwerft project, which is I think, some of the largest media technology projects in Germany, funded by the government of Germany. And I have three absolutely experts with me here, and would like to introduce these people. My name is Peter Effenberg. I'm head of conference and also part of that dwerft project, where we are, in fact, working with metadata every day. To my right, to your left, is Alexander Günther from Sportcast. Anyone knows what is Sportcast? Ha! Oh. Don't say it. You can tell what is Sportcast, Alexander.
Yeah, well, Peter, thank you for invitation and thank you for being here. Well, Sportcast is a 100% subsidiary of the Bundesliga. So Sportcast is the producer of the Bundesliga. Everything you see in Germany and worldwide of German football is produced by Sportcast. And Sportcast is, in that case, responsible for the entire value chain from bringing the football from the field to the world. This means actually that we are operating systems along the entire value chain from outside broadcast production. So we are producing more than 700 live matches a year, live matches. This is one of our entertaining topic that we try to present later. We are operating two fiber networks, so connectivity between every stadium in Germany is operated by Sportcast. In addition to that, we have an archive, a big archive, the largest football archive in the world with 160,000 hours of historical content. Everything is digitized and probably fulfilled with some, what you call it, metadata. Yeah, some metadata in order to find the pieces.
Say information. I mean that.
Yeah, information. It sounds probably better. And in addition, we are distributing every single piece of content in more than 200 countries every week. So over the years, Sportcast was established 2006, and we are located in Cologne. Over the years, we have produced 10,000 live matches. And we are our main business is to make sure that the business of the Bundesliga works out well. So we are storing the assets like the world feed, the archive, and data. But more on that later.
Very impressive. To my left is Dr. Rainer Schäfer. He is the General Manager for Media Services and Platforms, TV platforms at the Institute of Broadcasting Technologies, to say it in English, the IRT, which is the research institute for all public service broadcasters in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And I think you have, maybe Arnim, you can run the presentation clip for introducing the IRT.
You have to read quickly.
Okay. So in fact, this is all about tech, right? I mean,
That's true, as you could see. So we are about 100 people,
Yeah.
all technology, various departments, and the topics we are dealing with is, you have seen at the beginning, and amongst them, one of them is metadata and data in general. But we're covering all technology from audio, video, distribution, and production. So, and we're focusing on the new technology, which is just relevant for broadcasting.
thank you very much for being here. And last but not least, Jürgen Grupp from the Swiss Radio and TV Association, SRG, from Zurich. You are a business analyst information architecture.
Right.
And architecture is important because you are doing that for more than 20 years now. Your experience in information and software architecture. You told me as we were talking beforehand that you have the huge task of just changing the whole SRG at the moment in the meaning of metadata and how information is flowing between the different departments. Is that right?
Yes, especially in how data is perceived in itself as an asset within the SRG, because mostly we're used to perceiving data as sort of something that is extra, that is doesn't need so much care to be taken off. So we have to understand that data is some part of our assets, and we need to get more effectiveness and also efficiency in our processes to deal with data.
You prepared a short presentation. If you could just give this to us and to speak about more.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
It's the down button, sorry. That's
okay.
Yeah.
So the SRG SSR is the Swiss Public Media Service. I don't know how many of you would have known that. Some key figures about the SRG. We're producing along the whole value chain in 4 languages, our regional units, and we have 7 extra languages for our extra Swiss offerings. And what is quite interesting is that our daily users have, lots of them have already also moved onto the online sector. And another thing that is very interesting on this, we've had this 2018 poll on whether the fee is going to be kept or cancelled. And we have people of more than 70% of the people saying that we should stick with the key and keep that up. So our revenues are, following that poll, have been limited to 1.2 billion in the fee. And we're currently facing a significant decline in the ad revenues of currently 400 million Swiss francs, but this is going down very fast. You can see the different regional units on this map of Switzerland and the different languages also. So what are the key challenges? Sorry, that's the wrong direction. What are the key challenges for SRG these days? That's not all the challenges, but just a little selection. We need to reach everybody. This means all the people from young to old, whether they're immigrants or Swiss people. And we need to compensate for this ad loss that I already mentioned. We also need to work closely together. Switzerland is a small country, so we need to work closely together with our competitors, or former competitors, the editors and the newspapers and stuff. And we need to cooperate with them. And our time to market is another big challenge because we have very rigid processes. So what are we going to do about this? We created some strategic points on this. One, for reaching everybody, is we need to produce Swiss content, relevant Swiss content, and we need to work on the customer relation To compensate for the ad loss, we need to do more automation, get more efficiency to save on our cost side. And for addressing the cooperation versus competition challenge, we need to open up, we need to create business-to-business interfaces, stuff like that. For the time to market, we're looking at getting our processes more flexible, and one of those strategies that we have is how do we integrate along the value chain. We call this a platform-based integration effort that we're going to do. And then we have defined concrete measures on those strategic issues. One of them is we'll create and launch a VOD platform in 2020, September 2020, with that Swiss content and its long-tail content. So try to intensify the customer relation with that. In terms of automation, we're working on face recognition, speech to text, and all that helps us trying to create metadata and to speed up production times and have more distribution opportunities. For opening up, we create business-to-business interfaces. One also example is we have a common Swiss login, working on a common Swiss login with all our editors and former competitors. And another measure for the platform-based integration is called smart data platforms. This is a new concept, and this is what I'm going to talk about in the next slides. So, smart data platforms, what is it? Smart data platforms address a problem that we have today in integrating our different equipment. We do that usually today by a pattern that I'd call point-to-point integration pattern. It is mostly process-driven, so we're thinking about, what are the next steps that we have to do in our process chain? Okay, so let's connect system A with system B because it's the next one in the process chain. But this comes with several drawbacks, and that's why another pattern is going to be the basis for our platform-based integration, and this is the so-called data platform. This integration is not process-driven, it is value-driven in the sense that we estimate the value of the metadata and then deliberately decide on what kind of data we are going to put into platforms to make it accessible for consuming systems. Advantages of that are that the systems get better decoupling, and we have a higher flexibility in exchanging systems. What is the need for that? We need to store data in the data platform. So this is one reason why decoupling functions well, and another reason is we define the interfaces to access the data, either for ingest or for outgest of the data. So this is, in very short terms, the idea of data platforms. They can coexist with point-to-point patterns, but they also can take over completely. What makes a data platform smart? The data in the platform can be configured and can be formed in a way that makes it multi-usable. We can have a high control on whether the data is correct or not. It is at least structurally correct. It's quite easy to secure the data, much easier to secure a platform than secure the data in an application. It's easy to control access to the data, so make the data private. And one very important thing is data needs to be linkable and can be made linkable, which means it's much easier to link data from different platforms than it is to link data objects that are in different applications because they don't share a common data model. So this makes a data platform smart. And we have several benefits of that. I'd like to talk about the last one in that row. It's about increased data ownership. Because as we value data much more than ever before, we think that we as public service media should have more access and more control on our data. It should not be hidden behind APIs in applications. So we can take responsibility, we can start define the services for ingest and outgest, and we can monitor where the data flows and where it resides and what happens with the data. So, what are the wishes that we have for the media industry in that sense? And it means mainly our vendors of applications. One thing is, within other public service media, we'd like to collaborate on a framework on media data, which is, in our sense, far more than only the usual notion of metadata. And the second thing is, for our vendors, we'd like to work with those vendors that offer us flexible APIs, stable APIs, so that not every other version of the application changes the API completely and smashes our integration efforts. And we also, better yet, would like to work with vendors that are capable of mapping their data to the data models that we would like to get from the standards and we would like to use in our platforms. And we also would like to apply data platform technologies. This is especially about event stores. It's also about triple stores, NoSQL stores. So there's different technologies needed for different types of data. And we need skilled staff for that. We'd like to integrate AI on that. And would like to work in the cloud and move these platforms to the cloud in the end. Data protection is another topic that we have to address in that. So that's our wishes to the media industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Jürgen, it's a huge task what you're doing. What is, from your perspective, what is the biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge is making people interested in the topic at all, because they haven't been looking at that very much. That comes more and more due to the fact that it causes more problems to not have a good data management within your company or good data governance. And the second biggest problem is, I think, communication, because in a company like ours, where we have end-to-end processes and people from very, very different silo-style organized sections, they tend to use the same words but think about different things. So getting them all aligned with a common view and a common perspective is about the second biggest challenge.
So it's not the tech, it's the people.
Actually, I don't think really it's the tech, because except from standards, right? Yeah. But we have the technology at hand and in place. We need skilled people for that, okay. But mostly it's about convince people that it's necessary to change the paradigm of how we talk about metadata, how we use metadata.
Very interesting. That meets the research on cloud-based workflows the DPP was yesterday introducing here. It's exactly the same. It's mainly about the people. Alexander, at what point Sportcast was starting to think about the metadata issue? What was it?
The foundation. 2006, when we started working on the production of the Bundesliga. And a year later, we started building up the archive. And the archive was actually the main point where we really found out that beside audio and video that we stored, data was the most important factor. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a lot of content and you can't find it, it's no value. And I agree with you, from process to value. And that was the point actually where we started thinking about another dimension of creating data. Data as information, data as part of our entire value chain. So in 2006, we started Sportcast with the production, then 2007 with the archive. And from that on, we really came up with the building up the entire value chain, as I mentioned earlier. And So
So data was in the heart of Sportcast from the very beginning.
Yeah, actually in the DNA, it's part of our DNA string.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
As we were talking in beforehand, I was very impressed that you said we have at the end 2 columns of our business. One is to deliver a signal so that people can watch football, right? I mean, happy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The second is that you said, yes, we are earning money. We are making money with the data column.
Yeah.
And then I was asking you, could you bring some examples where you can just show how that works? And you was able to deliver us something. We have 3 examples, and one is what you call the live augmented reality. Can you tell a bit more about
No,
that?
I
Just watch it?
We just watch it, and then
Okay.
That's easier because talking about visualization of data is is a challenge. So
Tell us more about that.
yeah, well, this is actually, or it has been produced 2 weeks ago in
El Clasico in Germany.
Clasico, yeah. The idea was to combine the information, the tracking camera information on the one hand, put out all the data, metadata, or the information that is at the heart of our production, and combine it with the graphics information. That sounds easy, but that was the challenge. So on the basis of a production to combine tracking camera information with the graphics information, we started 6 weeks earlier with the first idea in Gelsenkirchen with the match Schalke played against Borussia Dortmund. There was only the drone, and then we combined the aerial camera system moving up and the graphics, and then live the direct combination with the drone. So that is one of the most sophisticated ideas that we.
So we're not talking about VFX, which you have a time to fix that every.
No, it's live.
It's just
It's
you have
just live.
2 different sources, and then it's the graphic on it, and that's live.
Yeah.
And if it's not working, you are sitting there like I'm sitting last day as the trailer was not running as we opened the conference.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it worked out well. Yeah, and this is one of the live examples for enhancing our program, our live entertainment.
Yeah. Second example is, I mean, everyone knows that in today's world for watching football, it is absolutely common that you get a lot of information about how long someone runs, how fast, and whether was the yellow card, and in the break you have a lot of information what happened in the first 45 minutes. I think you have also a video which is without sound and which explains a bit more how this is non-live graphic analysis is working.
Yeah. The first example was live. Now we have some highlight editing, non-live, and what we call with the graphics analytics tool. Tool is always the buzzword, you know. That we enhance the program and combine data, as you mentioned, data from tracking systems. We have tracking systems in all stadiums in Germany that we identify the performance and speed, the activities of the players, and especially the ball.
Yeah.
And
shall we run the video?
Well, of course.
We can. I mean, this without sound, so we can.
Yeah, this is something that is to most of the people here really familiar. That we have graphical analytics, but the important thing is that you see on the left that there's a speed information. There are different tactical informations, or the distance between the player and the goalkeeper, and so on. And this is available. I can tell you all the information is available live. But
where is it coming from, by the way?
This information is coming up from the tracking system. So in every stadium there are up to 20 cameras recording the field, and grabbing information. So
that
creating data.
4.3 meters is coming because you have cameras in there which are tracking that, and you have
and
that's
there's
the
an
true
algorithm behind it, and we are collecting all the data, we are storing all the data, we are analyzing it, and then we are delivering it. And this is part of delivery. I can tell you, when we started 2011, enhancing our data in 2016, we established another company, a data company, that is our daughter company, Sportcast Solutions. It's just the main purpose is to collect, store, and deliver all these metadata. A single match has about 3 to 4 million metadata of that stuff.
Yeah. So is that the reason why you are now able not only to, you are selling the signal to the different broadcasters, but you are also selling the metadata? Is that right?
Right. That is right. The main purpose of the German Football League, or even every league, is to sell licenses to the broadcasters. Nowadays to our media partners, since 2012 we are selling raw data feeds, in order to give them, and they can enhance any kind of program.
Last example, very quickly. It's also about optimizing workflows, and this is the automated audio mixing. Could you please run that? So maybe we can do the sound a bit down.
Yeah.
What was the challenge here?
The idea was, if you have, for example, 10 microphones around the system, and then just one operator with 10 fingers, we thought it would be an idea to help him.
Yeah.
To optimize the audio mixing.
There are only 10, right?
Yeah, and actually, I told you before. It's really a story that happened in 2014 when we were at the NAB show in Las Vegas, and we thought, what can we do? And there was the point where we said, so let's take the tracking data, as you see, all the tracking data, put it into an audio mixer, and let's see what happens. And this is kind of new business. Together with Karen Hego and our partner Lavo, we created this topic. The software was established 3 years ago, and today even in Europe, on most of the OB vans, this software combined with the audio mixing is installed. So it's not only an automation of an audio automation optimization, but it's also the starting point for creating new business models.
Yeah.
Well, if you have object sound like this, you can easily provide the audio sound to any fan in the world. If you're interested in the one direction, or in team A or team B, we can provide information to the fans that they want, even globally via our fiber network. Yeah. This is just one example.
So Rainer, there is a lot of information around. There's a lot of metadata around. It's for processing, it's descriptive, it's the 4.whatever million audiovisual, I call it audiovisual metadata.
Yeah.
Every system makes its own metadata. Isn't that the reason that we should talk not only about standardization for audiovisual feeds in the meaning of essence, but also for metadata? Should be there a standardization for metadata? What do you think? Is that something which is important for the business?
Well, I would say it is important for the business. Yes, we should talk about it.
Yeah.
But we also should have a look on what's currently happening, and this is really, it brings us one level down.
Yeah.
I just checked the
Arnim, kannst du? Ja.
I have some slides here, but
Yeah.
I just need this clicker. So the question is standards. And do we need the standards for the processes? And I would say, well, yes, we need them. And maybe we should distinguish between standards for the metadata themselves and the containers where we put the metadata. I can come back on that a little bit later. And
Just maybe like. Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my provocative thesis is, right now we don't have standards in all that environment. So always when we deal with metadata, we have to develop our own models and deal with these models. And it's also even worse, since we are losing metadata all the time throughout the production process.
That's a bit we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks a little bit like that. You can either try to keep all the metadata, to maintain the metadata during your production process, or you can recreate it at the end of your production. And what I mean with that is a little bit shown here. When you consider assets and metadata, when you run them through a workflow, when you maintain your metadata, you get everything out of the production process again at the end. Or another option is you just throw away the metadata, run the assets through the workflow, and finally you recreate the metadata from the produced assets again.
This is the reality what we do mostly at the
This
moment,
is,
right?
unfortunately, mostly
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
And in some cases, and I will bring an example, when you consider the red line at the bottom of this picture, we are using some information of the beginning of the production process, porting it to the end, for example, with fingerprinting systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to give you some examples for these two ways of working, what is currently happening. And so for the type of recreating metadata, I just said we have audio fingerprinting systems just put into operation within the ARD. So we need it for rights management. So we have a databases where fingerprints of all the audio assets are stored. And when we give something for distribution, it will automatically be monitored what went over the air. And we know what we have to pay to GEMA or to other authors and so on. That's a possibility. I'm not saying we must maintain always the metadata. We can go the other way, and it's a question of calculation. What are the costs? What is the effort? What is better? Another example is audio data mining, which is currently happening in all the archives. So we are automatically passing the archives, trying to apply speech to text and so on. So to get that working, it's about being established. Video data mining is a bit more complicated. It's there are first steps in that area. And in that framework, I also wanted to address, for example, we are always using AI technologies to do this data mining. And we should also talk a little bit about, do we need standards for this AI? So for example, do we need standards for exchanging training material? Standards for exchanging trained AI machines? And that's, by the way, something which is also considered or discussed currently within working groups of EBU, where we are nearly all active, where we try to drive these activities to get at least, it's also kind of standard, but it's not a standard of metadata. When we look to the other side, how can we maintain the metadata? That's something which is currently discussed in the so-called ARD Metadatenkranz. So it collects distribution metadata based on a model. We have similar things for getting the copyrights information throughout the process. So we have to combine all the various systems, to connect all the various systems from planning through production, through distribution. to get all this information, whom we have to pay. And as I said, the challenge really is connecting the systems when you want to maintain the metadata, and that's the highest challenge to get it working. And we continuously overrun all the schedules for the projects, because this is the real important point. It has various aspects. Jürgen has addressed it already. So it's the technical connection. You have to have the APIs, but you also have to bring people together. You have to make the people talking the same language, so that all of them understand the same data with the same field of data field. And that's the real challenge here. And for example, also the German TV platform is currently talking about establishing an exchange format for metadata. And last but not least, I would say also the dwerft project is a very all-embracing approach to connect all the systems, but in a more flexible way than in the other approaches. And so, as already addressed, I would say it's all about interfaces, and especially the meaning of the interfaces and the meaning of the data. And I talked about containers and data, and two examples are, for example, the DPP approach. We have the container of the IMF, but where we have the option to extend that by private data, by proprietary data, which has been chosen, but this data has to be defined, and this data has to be described. We have to have a common understanding for the data. The same is possible with IMF, where you have some data already defined, but not all. And you have the hooks and links to add more data. But these are containers, plus some descriptions of some additional data. And as we've just heard, I think we have to consider much more data, and we have to think about standardizing containers, which is maybe the easier part, and then we have to have a common understanding, and we have to talk which data to standardize. That's my view on the challenges, and also a little bit a short overlook on the status, what's happening.
Alexander, what do you think? Is that the right way to make a standard for metadata? Not in the meaning of containers, but as Rainer said?
Well, as you mentioned, we are talking about the different standardizations over the years, and I'm wondering when data is really standardized, because thinking about audio, or especially video, well, without any kind of standardization, we wouldn't have delivered any kind of video into the world. For example, from SD, standard definition HD, now we are talking about UHD, or UHD, HDR, or SDR. So this is a kind of raising in complexity and standardization, only on video. So the topic is completely right. From our side, it's very important to answer two questions. On the one hand, at what level of production and value chain is your business? Are you responsible for the entire chain, or just in different parts? And the second thing is, well, what about business models of the future? And probably one example from our side, one final example, because you mentioned the IMF, Netflix, delivery, if we are thinking about providing material to the world, and individualization, personalization, we are thinking on the technical side, we are thinking about delivering audio video, and well, giving some metadata in order to enhance the graphics program well, in the world, and not what we call dirty feed, delivering a dirty feed. And this is, well, from the technical side, almost easy, but from the standardization, there is no chance to deliver, because there is no standard for metadata delivery into the world. As I mentioned, from broadcaster to media partners. So not only the broadcaster, but all the media partners in the world should ask for standardization. So I laugh really this Netflix case, because this is how it should, well, actually it should work to deliver in the world.
Jürgen, when we talk about standardization and the business behind, you mentioned already the word which I think is very important, data ownership. When we talk about IP, we are very often talking about IP of content. But isn't there a data ownership necessary for the data itself? I mean, that who owns the data? Who have access to the data?
Yes, of course. I think the more data becomes an asset, the more the same mechanisms in standardization, intellectual property rights and stuff applies to data as well. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So before we close, we just wanted to ask the audience if you have any question, and maybe the colleagues from the sound can just provide anyone who has a question with a mic. Is there any question so far? So at the end, I think we are talking here about something. Oh yes, you have a question. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question to Alexander, which is really, I think, what already becomes clear. Yes, data is an asset. When you archive data, I think you need already some standards, some house standards to archive the data. Are you establishing such standards?
Well, I couldn't answer the question from the technical perspective, because this would be a deep dive that can. But yeah, of course we have different standards. But for example, we are operating the video archive, and we are operating the data archive, and the different metadata.
How is it merged?
Well, that's the challenge. It is merged actually either on time code information. Because, well, this is what we do. We are producing material. So from our main, let's say main clock on that is the time code information. So, but that it would be easier to have another merge element. But time code helps us to merge the different and to bring it together, to synchronize actually the different metadata sources. Yeah, but yeah, there is a kind of standardization, but different.
Any more questions from your side? I think that word is really important, that metadata are becoming information, data is becoming an asset. I think that's something which is very important for our business in the meaning of how to run a broadcaster, how to run a production company, how to run live feeds, right?
Yeah.
And we need standardization for that asset, so that because we are delivering content with data. And I think that the business models which are behind that are as huge as sometimes even still unknown a bit. What is behind that?
Probably I can add one important thing. At the beginning, you mentioned the different levels of metadata. So the technical metadata, descriptive metadata, and the kind of administrative metadata. And you also mentioned the copyright and license information. As our main business is selling rights and delivering a product and a service, there's a close connection between the metadata, the classical metadata information, and the rights management and the rights information. So if you combine it, you're prepared for the future and for the business cases that will occur, either on the classical or even on the AI topic, because that's a source of the future.
Very good closing words. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for being here. I just wanted to mention again the dwerft project, which you mentioned as well. The IRT is the technical main partner in that project, and we have also Mark Gülbacher here, who is the project leader for that, and Angelika Hurt, the speaker of the dwerft project. So anyone who is interested in how to connect, to link the whole supply chain on metadata, and how the idea of dwerft is to do that, can easily talk to the people. The SRG is also an associated partner in that project. Mainly, maybe, Sportcast is coming and join us as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the audience.
Thank you.